remember Tampa, the way she used to be, the places we would run to, the faces we would see. Yes, I remember Tampa, with precious memories, a city rising on the move, a simple yet progressive groove. Yes, I remember Tampa, she remembers me.
Welcome to the Tampa Natives Show. Stay tuned now for the fastest 60 minutes in cable broadcast history. Live from the studios at TBCN, the home of the Tampa Natives Show. Join your hosts, Mario Nunez, the 15-Minute Girl, and Steve Canella, as they celebrate growing up in Tampa. From Shock Armstrong to Shakey's Pizza, from Braddock Street to Buffalo Avenue. Get ready to call in and tell us your stories, because sharing your memories has never been this much fun. And now, Mario Nunez, the 15-Minute Girl, and Steve Canella. Ladies and gentlemen, Mario Nunez once again alongside
Steve Canella.
I like the way you said it the first time. Try it again.
Steve Canella.
I like that better. And here we are inside of Joe and Son's Olive Oils. We're getting ready to do a little demonstration, a cooking demonstration with Marilyn and Andrea. The room is filling up. Really nice people, really nice ambiance. We're going to get an education tonight. Stevie, what are you drinking?
Well, you know, I'm drinking some wine from Italy. It's called Primitivo. What are you drinking?
And I've got the Spanish version. It's called Tempranillo. Whatever Steve said. It's lovely. It has a nice kind of citrus bouquet. It almost actually, you know what it almost smells like, Steve? It almost smells like sangria, which is, of course, everybody's favorite.
It's my favorite, too.
And how about you, Steve? You were talking about Malbec earlier. What do you know about Malbec?
I like Malbec. It's mainly an Argentinian wine, and it's very dry, and it's my favorite, all-time favorite.
Hey, Stevie talking a little wine tonight. He didn't know that. And you didn't know that either, but in just a little while, we're going to learn a lot more from Marilyn and company. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with so much more. Thanks for watching. Hi, Tampa Native Show fans. Mario Nunez here alongside, well, my broadcast partner for the moment
is Marilyn Messina, also known as Mama Olive.
There it is. And tonight we're going to be doing a little demonstration, a cooking demonstration here at Joe and Son's Olive Oils, right here on Beta Bay between Himes and McDill, 3401 West Beta Bay. Marilyn, tell our fans what we're going to be experiencing tonight.
Well, this is a taste of Tampa, done Joe and Son style. Each of the dishes is a version of an old Tampa tradition, but we've incorporated in each of them our oils and our vinegars to give it a more up-to-date, healthier taste.
We can't wait. It's going to be wonderful, delectable, and we're so glad you're there with us. Stay tuned. Lots more coming up from Joe and Son's Olive Oils right here in the heart of South Tampa. Thanks so much for being there. Tampa Natives Show fans, we are in.
You're at Joe and Son's.
Yeah, no. We're Joe and Son's Olive Oils, but no, I actually think this is heaven. I think this is really.
All right.
Marilyn, what's going on that table over there? Because that last course.
Well, my daughter did our family's version of crab enchilada, but instead of using red pepper flakes, we used our phenomenal green chili olive oil to saute the bell pepper, onion, and garlic in a sofrito. And if you haven't tasted crab enchilada made that way, you ain't lived.
With the and the calamari.
Oh yes. Oh, and we
linguine.
had yes.
Is that right?
Oh, we had black
Squid.
linguine.
Oh, here we go.
And
Thank
then
you,
as
Steve.
and as the side dish, we had some deconstructed artichoke hearts, not stuffed, but taste like it.
Listen, we had no idea what to expect when we first walked in here tonight.
I agree.
This has exceeded our expectations, and quite honestly, we're looking to take up residence. I'm just going to tell you straight up and honestly. Andrea, and you have to see this firsthand to experience it, to believe it.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're
We're
welcome.
very flattered.
You're welcome, and thank you.
But we enjoy cooking. We like the people we cook for, and everybody ends up being our friends. It's like an extended family. So you and Steve have been adopted now, and Sally.
It's
too.
official.
Okay.
It's official.
All right.
And you know what? I learned a lot tonight myself. I mean,
Did you?
If anyone needs to learn how to cook, it's me. And I learned a lot tonight.
We make
is great.
we make cooking very easy. Even an amateur can do it.
Oh, yeah.
And we've got one more course to go. Apparently, there's
We do. We have a dessert, a ricotta cake, ricotta pound cake.
Well, we don't want to waste any more time. Let's get back to that, and of course, the wine sampling going on as well. It's been wonderful tonight. We're just getting started.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Stay tuned. Lucky 7. Did you see those
That was
dice coming in?
cool.
That was kind of
Amazing.
cool. We
That's
weren't
really
expecting
cool.
that
That's my number.
transition there. That was kind of nice.
great.
Hi, Tampa Native Show fans. Mario Nunez here. Look who we have in studio. And you thought that was going to be just a recording all night long of us. Not a chance of that happening. Marilyn Messina's in studio with us tonight. Her daughter, Andrea Gibbia. And there's Sally Nunez and Steve Cannell on the far side. We're so happy that you're there. Guys, thanks so much for coming in.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you for inviting us. It's our pleasure.
The studio has never smelled so good, ladies and gentlemen. I wish this was
true.
like smell-o-vision so that you can get some of this at home. Some of the things that you saw there being prepared over at Joe and Sons are on the table with us tonight. We'll get to those in just a little bit. But Marilyn, we just want to say, it's been too long since you've been here in studio with us.
It's been a couple of years,
Couple
I
years.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2013, I believe.
Yeah.
And you know what? Joe and Sons, one of our tried and true and right there with us sponsors. Every time we go into the studio and every time we go into the shop, Marilyn says, hey, you know what? Don't forget, come by and pick up that check. And I'm thinking, oh, you know, you're right, Marilyn. And you always deliver, you and Andrea.
And so do you all.
Well,
Thank you.
you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you very much.
And, you know, and I want to say something about your show. I love your show for many reasons, but I think that tradition is extremely important. And if people don't have a family tradition, then it's time that they establish them. But there's something about the Tampa Natives Show. You're a nourisher. You nourish the memories of our city of Tampa. You nourish what she used to be as she began. You nourish as she grew, as she stumbled a couple of times. You've nourished the memories of what she is now, and you've led us to see what she can become. But you can't do that unless you save the history, and that's what your show does. This show is invaluable for people who have been born and raised here, for people who simply visit, and for those who are newcomers to the area.
And we have a lot of those newcomers. Thank you.
Wow,
for
that was
quite welcome.
That was
fabulous
beautiful.
what you just said.
Thank you so much
That
for
was
those kind
wonderful.
words. And
Very
you know,
nice, very nice.
I get a little verklempt when I hear those, you know, because I know,
Goosebumps,
yeah,
yeah.
of course,
Oh, it
because
was
I know that
beautiful.
Marilyn's family's roots are profound, and she represents, I think, the best of what Tampa is, and that is to say hard work, dedication to family, fourth generation business owner. So along with families like the Gunsmarts, you can say, and like the Mores, you know, the Segunda Central family bakery. These are the reasons why we keep doing this show, and we do it each week with pride in our heart, and this week is no exception. Marilyn, we have pictures that we want to show in just a little bit because when we were doing some research this week for the show, and Andrea, I know you've seen the pictures. You're great. What pride it must fill your heart with to see those pictures of your great-grandfather, your great-grandmother, when they were very young people younger than your age now, with your grandfather, your mother's father, as a baby. I mean, those pictures for families that, you know, don't have them, there's no amount of money you wouldn't pay to have those.
Thank goodness my grandmother and my parents were savers of pictures. They believed in keeping the memories alive, and if you weren't there to see what you were talking about in real life, you at least had the pictures. And so I have pictures of my parents dating, going to Cuba on their honeymoon, going to New York, pictures of old cars, myself and family friends at Easter egg hunts at the old University of Tampa Plant Park, pictures of the old fairgrounds, the Gasparilla parades. So I'm lucky to have been the beneficiary of their keepsakes.
And that was
Yes,
in
you
an
are.
era.
Very lucky.
That was in an era when there was really no one had cameras.
Right.
No.
You know? I mean, back in the 70s, we didn't even really have cameras.
Yeah,
in.
we don't
You know,
have
so-
that many pictures at
It
all.
was a special thing to have.
very special, very
to have the foresight to take the pictures. What does it mean? How does it make you feel, Andrew? When you see
I wanted
your-
to tell an interesting story. My father and I this past October actually took a trip to Sicily during the olive harvest. My mom decided she wanted to stay home, but so it was a very special trip that I took with my father. And while we were there, we visited the family from Sicily, and it was amazing that they pulled out photographs of my grandfather as a young boy that they were sending over. They were sending back to the motherland, and so even then, so we got to see pictures that I've never even seen before, that we don't even have, and they do that over there in Sicily.
Does
So
that
I made copies of them.
Does that really connect the dots for you? I mean, does it
does.
really just bring it all into
It
sharp
tugs
focus?
it
Of
tugs
course.
at the heartstrings.
Of course. Not to mention a scene right out of The Godfather. You know, you go back to the old
but-
country,
but,
you
you know-
walk up the hill, no air conditioning.
I don't think people who don't appreciate family can appreciate what we're talking about.
Right. 4
Family,
generations.
family is really, really important to us.
It's everything.
We nourish the memories, and especially, say for example, we're talking about the food that we brought here. We've got Easter coming up. We keep the memories of our ancestors alive through the foods we serve at our holiday meals. For example, Easter, we have a set menu. It's going to include Nana Leah's olive salad. That was Nana Leah Messina. We're going to have Abuela Maria's pork roast, cooked modern. But these are all versions that we've adapted, so we've made them a little bit healthier. We cook them a little bit quicker, but they're still as pretty to look at. They're still
savory, I'm sure.
Right, and they're still appealing, but we've added our own little touches. But every time that we serve one of those dishes, I don't know how you feel, but I almost feel as though when I'm preparing it, that grandmother, that aunt, that mom is in the kitchen, and I can almost hear that person over my shoulder saying, I didn't make it that way. You know?
Too much salt.
Yeah, I didn't make it that way.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, it's true, and it's important. And you know, I think people may take that too lightly. They may just dismiss it or be dismissive of it. There's nothing more connective, I think, than photographs, which are there as testimonials, and then of course things like edibles, because you know when you're experiencing that moment with the food that eventually nourishes your soul and your spirit, you know, you're smelling it, you're tasting it, you're touching it.
It's multisensory, and it's just, sometimes it's so good it's an almost overload.
Yeah, it is.
But not that good that you don't want to go back for more. Yeah.
Good sensory overload.
Yeah.
Or that you can't wait to get it that leftover tomorrow, because you know they always come up better. So you know, as we progress tonight on the show, and it's about 20 minutes after the hour, when we open the phones for phone calls in just a little bit, we want to hear from our viewers and our fans. If you've got questions for Marilyn or Andrea, certainly that would be a good time. And if you'd like to win our drawing tonight, which will be a gift certificate for some product over at Joe & Sons, give us one of those recipes that Marilyn was mentioning just a moment ago that ties you to a specific member or group of your family that you still incorporate in your annual celebrations to remind you of those past. And then Marilyn and Andrea will make a decision at the end which one may just have been the most impressive. Yeah, the most delectable.
No pressure.
There you go. No pressure on our fans, but we do want to hear from you, certainly, because you know, all of our fans, they go all across the spectrum. You know, they're not just Italian, they're not just Spanish, they're everybody. So if you know, if some of our Jewish fans are watching us tonight and you have specific memories of specific dishes, we want to hear from you as well. That's one thing about Tampa that we can all relish in the fact that when she was just beginning, those early years, there were 6 or 7 different distinct groups of settlers here, because they were settlers at that time. They weren't citizens yet. They just got here. This was a rough patch of territory, and they were carving out their niche, each in their own group. And but that amalgam is what later became the wellspring for those of us that are still around and longing and pining for the days when there's no traffic on the road, Marilyn. I don't know how you feel about it, but Steve, every time he comes in here, he's a mess.
It is, yeah. And I'm older than Steve, so I remember.
Even less traffic.
Even less traffic. Right.
And when you got out much beyond Hillsborough or much beyond.
There was nothing past, you know, Dale Mabry heading north.
Right.
It just stopped at Waters.
Yep.
Right. Or you can get anywhere in Tampa in 20 minutes, really, 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, from the stadium all the way to Highline. I mean,
well,
it's different now.
Progress brought traffic, and sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not.
That's true.
But I am enjoying all the new people that we're meeting. Tampa is becoming a conglomerate of all different ethnic.
It is.
It's a big mix now, bigger than it ever was. And it's incumbent upon us, all of us here, to Tampa Native and Tampa Native Show fans alike, it's incumbent upon all of us to rather than become intimidated by the numbers, and it's easy to do, because as we progress and we go down the road and our numbers become less and less prevalent, you know, as we're meeting people and you tell them, oh, I'm a Tampa native, and their response a lot of times is, well, I didn't know there were any of them left.
Yeah,
I get that all the time.
Sure. What we need to do is we need to be steadfast and vigilant and remind them of who we are and where we came from. You know, even if it means fighting tooth and nail to help J.C. Newman keep the last remaining cigar factory in Cigar City open and viable. So these are the things that's important for those Tampa natives that consider themselves to be Tampa natives, born and raised, of those great descendants, those great early settlers. Remember who we are. Food is part of that. And as is our traditions, like our Gasparilla parade, and you know, Easter egg hunts with the family, and going to the park, and And what did we just find recently, Steve? Those fairyland figures
Oh,
from
yes.
Lowry Park.
Oh, yes.
What a treasure. What a treasure.
I mean, every once
That
in
was
a while,
amazing,
somebody
really.
will open up
Where are those? Who has them?
the city. Well, we know where they
It's
are.
a secret.
Oh.
No, it's not a
No,
secret
not
anymore,
anymore.
because
Not
actually
anymore.
we put it out
Well,
there.
we're not
Marilyn.
telling anybody where they are.
We'll mention it now and again, because recently we mentioned this on our Facebook page, and we're a little off topic, but we'll come right back to food, I promise. But since you asked,
We're fine.
Lowry Park, Fairyland, all those figures. When they changed the structure of the park to become Lowry Park Zoo, they bulldozed Safety Village, completely destroying all that wonderful craftsmanship, all of those little models, scale model buildings made of wood. Then somebody must have had a moment of clarity and said, you know what, we can't destroy these Fairyland figures. Why don't we just store them? We don't know what the hell we're going to do with them, but why don't we store them? And maybe someday, one day, 35 years later, they've been found, and they're almost all there. And
But
I have
they're
one of the
in
figures
need
at
of
home.
repair.
I have one of the figures at home right now. I have one of Jack and the Beanstalk's buddies. There were 3 of them, and I have one at
He's
home.
in
And
our
when I put it in the
garage.
trunk of my car to take it home to work on him, to kind of look him over, it's really strange, because he's a little body. He's about that big, and I stuffed him in the trunk of my car. It was very bizarre. But anyway, we have
That's
them,
interesting.
and we are in the process of forming a team together. Some of them, they're made of fiberglass, so some of them do need
lot
an
of work.
artisan
Repair.
Yeah.
to get in there and do some work, but they're there. And Rodney Kite Powell at the Tampa Bay History Center has said, you know what, we'd be interested in displaying them. Richard Gonsmart has said, you know what, Mario, if we can bring them up to standard and make them nice again, we'll find a place for them. So the generations of kids today, your kids, Andrea, can once again be reintroduced to, because before we had the mouse,
That was our playground.
This is
that
what we
was the
had.
mouse.
Yeah.
That's
This is
all
what
we
we
had,
had.
you know? So anyway, I digressed. I got off topic there, but
But that
That's
was
a
an
good
amazing
topic.
find.
it was, Steve.
It really was.
It really was, and that's ongoing. That's in the process. Let's go ahead and give the email address, Stevie, because that way you can
Let's
start
do
getting
that.
emails.
We have one already, as a matter of fact. In
Okay.
fact, we have one from, this is Tampa Grits. We know who that is. It's
Yes, of
Diane
course,
Cooper,
Diane
right?
Cooper, right?
She writes, good evening, it's Diane Cooper. May I choose number 52 for tonight?
Okay, right off the top.
Mom Betty Allen is watching tonight as well, as is Walt,
right.
and she'd like number 64.
Very good.
But that address is goodtimes@tampanativeshow.com, goodtimes@tampanativeshow.com.
Now, Betty and Walt, Hillsborough High School grads, both,
Right,
right?
right.
We know that they grew up in that side of town where, you know, maybe
Forest
the high,
Hills, right?
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Maybe the high enchilada wasn't the first thing they ate on Sunday.
Well, they might have
or
some
spaghetti and meatballs.
different kind of cooking, like
Well, that's
southern,
what I'm
southern
thinking.
cooking. Maybe
They had
like-
some southern
yeah,
cooking. They got
exactly.
some cornbread. They got some meatloaf. So okay, you guys call in.
Yeah, we
let
wanna
us
hear
know.
about that.
Tell us your traditional meals, and maybe you might win a prize down the road as well. You want to show those pictures, Steve?
Yeah, that's,
You know, we talked about those pictures.
they're amazing. It's the
I
Joe
think
and Son Legacy. you
It
know?
is, and you know, you see Nano, right, in the picture when he's sitting there and he's
Yeah,
already at
I
the end
love
of his
that
life, and you know
He showed up every day because even if he couldn't work, he had to stand guard to make sure it was done right.
Sure.
and if nothing else, greet his customers.
Now, when you look at that picture, I want you to look at that sweater. It has holes in the elbows, down at the
didn't
hem.
notice that.
Oh yeah, we would give him a new sweater every occasion that would warrant a gift, and he would not wear it because this was his sweater.
Oh,
Right.
And it didn't matter. It was falling apart. Every time it got washed or dry cleaned, whatever, another hole formed. Also, he was, I think, one of the first people that realized you lost heat through your head. You never saw him without that little cachucha on his head.
It's a great photo.
Yeah.
You know, let's start, Becky, let's start with number 0, and there's about 13 total
Sure, we'll go
photos.
through those
We'll
real
go through 'em.
quickly, absolutely, and
We'll
we
start,
can
yeah.
and we can discuss them because I think it tells the story. It paints a wonderful picture of the family.
Wow, look at
Aw,
this.
there they are. I think my father was probably around 2 years old then.
That's a great picture, and if you look at the picture up close, when you get a chance to look at it on our Facebook page, it almost looks like your dad is on the top of that stool and he's levitating because there's nothing that there's a space between
know.
what the actual disc that he's standing on and the top of that stool.
You know, it
and
does
I'm
look
wondering,
like it,
okay,
doesn't it?
I don't know how they did that.
That's funny.
But he's absolutely levitating.
Well,
That's
I
a great-
always said my dad was a special person.
and look at him.
Yes.
Isn't he? That's a great look at your grandma.
Yeah.
Look at your grandma. We'll see her a little bit later as well.
Oh, and there's the truck.
So this
Whose
is about the
house was that? Was that your
1940s, early
house?
50s, maybe?
Maybe let me see. We bought that house. That's at 2707 North A Street, and it's still standing.
Wow.
Right off of Kennedy.
Sure.
And we probably moved there when I was around 14.
So I guess if I tell how old I was, then you'll know how old I am now. Suffice it to say, it could have been in the 50s.
I wish you still had the truck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
wasn't
really
that
cool
something?
truck.
Yeah.
Very
Worth
cool
the
truck.
It was dark green, a dark green panel truck.
With a
And
visor.
That's right. Look at that.
1940s? It's a 1940s? Is that what it says there?
Yeah, that was the original. That was the original store, and that was on the corner of Henderson Avenue and Nebraska. It was a wooden structure, 2-story, and it was built catty corner.
Oh, sure,
The front
sure.
door
The
didn't
front door was on the
face
corner.
one or the other. Yeah, yeah. And see the little person in the front?
Yeah.
Years and years and years ago, we used to have Last Call for Philip Morris.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
And that wasn't the original Philip Morris actor, but they used to hire a lot of impersonators to sell the cigarettes and the tobacco products, and he happened to be at the store that day.
Oh, great.
Look at that store too, huh?
Yeah.
That's
Chock full of product. Hey, whose passport is this?
My grandfather's, my great-grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it is. It's
It
Giuseppe's.
is. Yes, it is.
So that's the fifth
Oh,
generation,
and
Andrea.
that's the sisters.
Talk about this because I didn't know what to make of this.
All right, those are that's my father's mother. Maria is the shorter one in the back.
Okay.
And then the older lady in the middle is the grandmother. She's Evarista Quiñones.
Is that the one that I always
Yes.
say? Who's that old man?
Don't say that. That's awful. How
No, the
disres-
mics are turned off. Don't worry.
Oh,
Mary.
okay.
Nobody
No,
can
but she
hear.
says it all the time. Evarista Quiñones Noriega, and those are the other sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in the backyard of a house, of a building that's still standing on the corner now. It used to be a grocery store downstairs, run by parts of the family member, some of them family members, and upstairs were the living quarters for Lily and Aderito, and she's the lady sitting in the very front on the chair. They lived upstairs. That's the second store. When they outgrew the first one, they moved down there, and that probably, the older I get and the more I talk about it, the less unsure I am the less sure I am of the dates. I mean, could be I've been lying all these years. I don't know.
Embellish away.
I embellish, yeah.
No one
yeah,
will
but
know.
that was it. Probably, I'm trying to think. Maybe in the late 40s, something like that.
About the time of that panel truck, I bet.
yeah. Look at,
Right. So it was probably the late 40s, early 50s.
And the location address?
And that was 801 Henderson Avenue.
Okay.
And the side street would have been Mitchell. We were right around Mitchell,
The brick
Taliaferro.
streets.
And
Yeah.
everything around there. We had beautiful
Brick
homes.
streets?
Yes, beautiful homes. And they were torn down back in the late 50s, early 60s for something that they called urban renewal, and it
Yes.
never came.
Oh,
And all
wow.
of these, all historic homes were there.
That's sad.
Yeah. And that was that was the grand opening sale, and if you got a close-up, you could see
Look
just
at
how,
all the merchandise
Wow.
in there.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
and all the flowers sent as well wishes, but look
Yeah.
at the prices.
The jellies.
Mullet, 21 cents a pound.
Wow.
Doesn't that say
Gosh.
oleo, 27 cents maybe? Does that say
I don't know, but
oleo?
I mean, everything
think
was,
so.
right, oleo, 27
Oh, wow.
cents. Uh-huh. But
We
they
go
had
back
a
to
full
that.
service. That was Armando, and then that was a salesperson up against the phone. There was a chair there with a phone, and that's how people placed their orders for delivery.
Oh.
Nothing fancy. There was just a little table for the phone, and there was the chair.
Yeah.
And there's my dad writing in the famous ledger.
And I see the Florida Dairy ice cream canister or container
Yeah.
there.
And you notice there was no
refrigerator?
restriction on tobacco because there were cigarettes and cigars
Yeah,
everywhere.
behind
Sure,
ours, yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
In one scene, you'll see in a minute now in one photograph, I think it's Armando's at the cash box. Armando's there checking out. Is that who that was?
No, that was Armando working there.
Okay.
That was, yeah.
I think you'll see him in a minute with a
and
cigar.
this is my grandmother in the center. The man with the dark shirt is my dad. I can't remember who the person is with the darker shirt, medium, a salesperson. The person to the right of on my grandmother's right is, I think, Paul Persia. And in fact, I'm very good friends with one of his sisters, Diana. And then the other is Lawrence Spoto, who came from California, worked for us. He was a bachelor, nicest man ever. And when he retired and they sold the store, he went back to California. And we stayed in touch with him for many years after.
Wow.
It was
What
a family.
loyalty,
It
what
was,
loyalty,
it was
huh?
a family.
There's a sweater.
There's the,
And there
there's
he
the
is.
chapeau.
Yeah,
That's a
if
great
you look
picture.
at the forearm of the right arm,
Yeah, you can see
you
it.
see little
Yeah.
dots. Yeah, and up along on the left shoulder, those are all holes. And he never went anywhere without that cap. Should he forget the cap, though, this was funny. He would resort to a brown paper bag, and he would put it on his head and make a little cuff. And that's how he kept warm.
Oh, well.
He was a
What a
character,
character.
Looks
but
like
a
a
heart of
character.
gold.
He
Gosh,
looks like
I
a
miss him.
sweetheart.
Gosh, I miss him.
Not too bad.
And he was only about 5'1".
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Industrious.
And there was my grandmother.
This is the shot. You can't see it because it's a little far away for us to be able to see it on the monitor, but there you go. The clerk working that's checking out, he has a
Smoking.
cigar clenched between his teeth.
That's Armando. Yeah. Yep. And then as you, in the
Was
earlier.
that your nana there?
That's my abuela. Yeah.
Abuela?
Yeah, she was the Cuban. I am
Favata side.
I am Sicilian, Italian, and Cuban. So
You got it all.
I got it all. Yeah. And there's my dad, so proud of part of the display, the Borden's milk.
Borden's milk.
Borden's Dairy, right there.
A
by
huge
the-
picture of that particular picture is hung in the store, and I just love
see it every day.
to see him every
And then
day
there's
looking over
there's
us.
my grandfather as a young man.
He looks like, or you look like him.
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
a family resemblance.
I'll tell you what, that picture that you showed of my father when he was around 2 years old, I have a picture of myself dressed in something similar. I would dare you to tell the difference between my father and myself. We had the same face. And her daughter, who is now a little bit over 2 years old,
She's a cutie.
she has the same
a cutie.
face too. So you can't deny where we came from.
No. That's very, very true. Well, thank you for sharing those images with us.
Great picture.
Thank you for including them.
Of course, they're on our Facebook page as well. So if you want to go back and review them, you can certainly do that. We're going to talk a little bit about the food here on the table. We also want to give you the phone number because we know that a lot of you are probably hard by your phones and ready to call in, and we want to talk to you as well if you'd like to talk to Marilyn or Andrew.
Or maybe
So-
they don't want to call because they want to sit there and watch and learn
wanna watch
about the
us eat.
food. Yeah.
And we are in just a couple of minutes. All right, we'll give you the number just in case you do want to call in. Darling?
813-977-6800.
There it is. Stevie, give it to him again.
813-977-6800.
And there it is. All right, operators are standing by, and as soon as we see the red light flashing in studio, we'll pick up the phone. So, shall we go around the table and discuss some of these delectables
right.
that we see here?
All right, Andrea, do you want to talk about the scacciata?
Yes, she does.
Sure.
And wasn't this one of one of the foods that you prepared for us tonight? Yes.
And this is a particular recipe that I learned from my grandmother. And funny, most of the things that I had learned to cook, I learned from my grandmother and my mother. But this in particular was interesting because my mother didn't know how to make this. I learned from my grandmother, and then I taught my mother.
There you go, a role reversal.
You're
Yes.
never too old to learn.
There you go,
So
Mama Olive.
this is a much easier modern version. My grandmother used to make it from scratch with, let the dough rise and all of this. And so now I use a store-bought pizza dough. And but yes, it's scacciata di giri. And giri back then, or giri in Italian means simply greens. But the Sicilians of Tampa in the day used to use Swiss chard, which is not always readily available for us. So we've changed it up and used spinach. Because my grandmother used to use spinach sometimes when she would make it when Swiss chard was not its season. And now we just always make it with spinach.
And this would be an appetizer?
It's
This
an
would be something that you
appetizer,
would serve?
and it's hard to find it made. A couple of the bakeries do make it.
I've never heard of it before.
Well,
but it's delicious.
but it is- but it
Everybody
is
knows the
good.
traditional scacciata with
Yeah.
the tomato
Yeah.
sauce on
Yeah.
top.
But
It's
this-
more like-
this- is
Housewife
something-
Bakery actually makes it.
But this is something that we normally, if we're having any kind of a party or get together, you're going to find this on the table. And if you all would like to,
I think
taste
we
it?
would. So,
Yeah.
darling, grab a napkin and we can.
Grab.
Y'all take a little piece, and I'll get one when they come plate
and
comes
so
back around.
you're going to find this on the table at Easter, because people come in. We have some of the appetizers. Now, let me direct you while she's getting that. Let me direct you to the olive salad.
Absolutely, coming right in.
This olive salad is a recipe from Marilyn Messina.
Maybe we can get a nice tight shot of the olive salad.
And
Floor director Nick
we've upgraded
Nunez.
it some. We've upgraded it some. And now, oops, it's sliding.
Oh, no sliding.
No sliding allowed. And so we've made this, but using some of our olive oils and vinegars. And in particular, for this particular salad, we used Milanesa Gremolata extra virgin olive oil, which rolls trippingly off the tongue.
Doesn't it though?
Yes.
Melanesa
When you
Gremolata.
say it, it does.
It does.
Easy for you to say.
And make mine a double.
Okay, and then you can tell them, what are the flavorings in Milanesa?
Well, Milanese Gremolata olive oil is an infused olive oil. So they take an extra virgin olive oil and infuse these wonderful flavors into it. So Milanese Gremolata is a traditional Italian condiment made up of lemon zest, different herbs, some garlic, which were all things that were in, Nana Leah's recipe. And so we decided to use that oil, in place of it. We also use an oregano white balsamic.
Well, I'm going to take a little piece of this. Darling, if you'd like
now,
to get some of the...
now I do need to tell you,
Go ahead.
you have to like garlic.
Oh, no.
Okay,
Garlic is
all right.
staple
you need,
in the house.
You need to like garlic.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
I usually pick that up with my
That's
hands.
what I'm
I'm not
do.
as fine as
yeah,
you
no,
all.
that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I just grab a napkin and go for it.
With a cracker.
Thank you.
Your thoughts? Oh, I like that.
Smells delicious.
Yeah,
That was a
Really
good
does.
moan.
Oh, if my lavalier is sensitive enough, you can probably hear the smacking, and
Okay.
that is delicious.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We're big fans of spinach anyway,
I love spinach.
but it's so creamy.
And then here.
If you'll pass me a napkin as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Now,
I had somebody mention to me, and I haven't done it yet before, but I'm actually going to try to make this. Kale is now the new superfood. I'm
Yes.
going to see what this is like making it with kale, and it's just the same way, and replace the spinach with kale.
The product that the product that Nana used to make it with when spinach.
with
Swiss chard.
Swiss chard.
Swiss chard. Swiss
Yes.
chard?
They
Is that-
call it GD.
GD.
Okay, the GD. Can it be a little bit like kale in that it can be bitter? Because kale can be bitter.
It can't.
What
no.
does Swiss chard taste like? I've never had
It's
it.
very mild.
Oh, is it?
Okay.
And in
'cause
fact,
kale's
there,
not.
and I
Kale's
you know,
not.
the name of the family escapes me. There used to be a family in Ybor City that had a garden where they grew it. And I don't know if it's in existence now or whether it's been abandoned and they gave it up, because obviously they have
Wasn't
to be
it
on
Junta?
in years. It was either Junta or Ferlita, but they had. Maybe somebody can call in and give me the name. I'm sure somebody out there knows. But they used to have all these vegetables, more than enough for themselves, and they would supply anybody who wanted to come in and buy them.
Wow.
And so that's where we got the Swiss chard. I don't have that luxury. I don't know anybody who's growing it, and I don't have a green thumb. So the spinach suffices for me.
Someplace in Ybor City, they've got a hydroponic garden that does organics that I'm sure they have the capability with the gear that they have there to grow it. Someone should put a bug in their ear to see if they might consider growing one row of Swiss chard.
That's a thought. Well,
Because you
That's
know the Swiss.
interesting. Yeah.
Our caller is gone? Oh no. Oh, caller, please call back. I'm so sorry.
I'm
We were just
sorry.
about to go to the caller. We were just getting ready to eat the olives and
started
yes,
already.
call back. So call back, caller, because you know what happens sometimes, Stevie? Solar flares. I blame everything on solar flares. You know, when I drop a call, it can't be my phone service. So
let me
call
tell you,
us back.
we were talking too about Easter and the tradition. And we do serve the olive salad at Easter, and there's a reason for that. Olives are symbolic of resurrection and rebirth. And the Christians, the resurrection of Christ. So it just seemed like a natural fit for us to serve the olives at our Easter meal. And that was it. Now you'll see later on, one of the desserts that we'll have at our Easter meal is the pound cake with the almonds. Almonds are a symbol of prosperity,
Fertility?
purity, fertility, but the tree itself is the symbol of light. And so we include almonds in our meal so that we can light the way for our family. And so there's a reason why we incorporate many of these dishes. It's not just willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they go together,
it's a
and all of
beautiful
this
story.
is a big part of the Mediterranean
So-
diet too,
and that
which
was-
is where all of
Right.
this
And that,
goodness and
so
health
whenever
came from.
we serve Nana Leah's salad, she was the sweetest woman. No, not man. You know, there's a story to this family that you all haven't heard.
Come
yet.
on,
She's going to be
I think it's a good time to. I think this is a good time for the reveal.
No, I misspoke.
That was great.
She was not a man.
That was the other woman.
And he's home right now.
I'm telling you, Anthony,
The cigar fell out of his mouth?
My husband is home. I didn't mean to disparage your grandmother. I loved her. I'm sorry.
That happens on the show
Oh, we'll
sometimes.
be getting that phone call in a minute.
Oh, I know.
That's what's known
But
as
anyway,
a
but,
blooper.
but that's her olive salad, so we
That's
always
funny.
think she's
That's
joined
wonderful.
us.
It's
Thank you.
wonderful.
It's
And
Now
delicious,
again, lots of garlic.
Well, but that's healthy too.
But you know, none of
But
us have ever had worms.
A and B, a vampire wouldn't even think of it.
That's
you know
right,
what I
so
mean?
we're safe.
We're
Yeah.
perfectly safe.
Full moons doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, no, not with us.
Okay.
Not with, and that was, I think, one of the things that probably in our neighborhoods, in our respective neighborhoods.
You're still laughing about the man thing.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be a
We'll be laughing
clip.
for a long time.
In our respective neighborhoods, when you went into our friends' homes, that was probably the one common thread that bound us all together. You know, everybody cooked with the same seasonings for the most part. And garlic was, I think, on the top of that
Right.
short
Oh, yeah.
list. So, you know.
I've never had a dish that had really, rarely enough garlic, and it's never had too much.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there on, let's pretend that we've had our complete meal, which would be my grandmother's roast pork.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the difference in the way she does she did the mojo and we do, I make a mojo using our garlic, extra virgin olive oil, with our grapefruit balsamic vinegar.
Citrus.
I do that, and then we add the onion and we add the garlic, and then we sizzle it, and we add that to the pulled pork, and it is delicious. You don't need to have sour oranges or the lemons. This is really incredibly
Sounds
good.
really good.
And the other sounds like it might be a little more labor intensive when you can just hop down to Joe and Son's
And
Olive
get it,
Oil
it makes
and
it-
pick up your
yeah.
infused balsamic. Well, we've got a caller back, so before we talk too long into the night and lose our next caller, let's take this call, shall we?
Yes.
Caller, you're on the air with the Tampa Natives Show. Joe and Son's Olive Oils is featured tonight. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
This is Anthony Messina.
This is Anthony Messina.
You're in trouble now.
Honey, I'm sorry.
To tell my wife she can't make that mistake again about my grandma. But I will forgive her.
Beautiful.
But I do want to, speaking of my grandmother
Sure.
and her olive salad, she was a wonderful scacciata cook, too. And I still remember virtually every Christmas Eve, we'd have dinner at her house, and not only would she make scacciata de gire, she would make scacciata with crab meat sauce in between the layers.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't
Now
had
you're
that
talking.
in
That
years.
sounds
Now
really
you're
good.
talking.
I haven't had that in years.
And then, of course, then we'd have lasagna and salsiccia, Italian sausage, things like that. But those were wonderful times. Marilyn and I have the dining room table that belonged to my grandmother.
Oh, how
That
special.
They bought when my father, who would now be 98, was a young boy.
Wow.
And we have that in our home.
That's
And-
awesome.
wonderful.
and
With
every
the 6
time we
chairs.
sit down at that, we think about those dinners at Nana Leah's house.
Right.
Well, that just brings it all into sharp focus because the meals are on the table, that the original
Right.
table that they were served on.
That the old man cooked.
It can't get any more original than that. Now, the only thing I would suggest you do is after you have your next traditional meal, Anthony, is perhaps you can clear the table, all join hands, and try to call up one of their spirits. Because I'm sure they'll be there, and after tonight, we'll try to
Yes.
replay this show.
Yeah. Someone's going to be angry.
They're going to come visiting
Somebody's
tonight.
going
I
to get
know
a
it.
cocotazo in the middle of the night.
I know it.
Oh, no, I'll forgive her.
All right, very good. Well, listen, thank you so much for calling tonight and sharing that with us, because that, again, marvelous connection. And I think the young people today, and this is going to make me sound horrifically old, but I'm saying the younger folks, as we have become more of a disposable society, sadly, those things have less and less worth. And not to everybody, because to families like ours, those things are special talismans. They're special touchstones. And in this case, a dining room table where you have to eat your meals daily.
love that.
I think it's wonderful that you have that, and hopefully more people will value those kinds of things. That's how you keep it together. That's how you keep your identity, really, Anthony.
Andrea mentioned that she and I went to Sicily. I discovered 8 years ago that I had a huge family of Messinas there that I didn't know existed.
Wow.
So this was the top of my bucket list, and we went this past October, and we had a wonderful time. They treated us like we'd only been gone for a while. That they almost felt like they knew us forever. But these were people that, like I said, I didn't know existed, and they didn't know I existed.
Wow.
And we met a large number. They were all wonderful. And the point also to take from that is there's family out there. And all you have to do is spend a little bit of time and effort to find them. And they'll hopefully welcome you with open arms like my family did for us.
What a great story.
Great.
Thank you for sharing
And I'll
that.
see you later.
Okay.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank
We
you,
won't
Anthony.
ask you for
I'll
your
shut
lucky
up
Bolita
now.
number. You've already won the lottery.
Right.
You've already won the Bolita
Yeah,
drawing.
let me give you a number.
Okay.
Okay.
43.
43.
Thank you, Mr. Messina. We'll talk to
Thank
you
you.
soon.
Now,
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
and I'm sorry to interrupt him, but
No,
let
no,
me
fine.
just mention now, you know, we talked about the dessert.
Sure.
And there's a symbol for that because of the almonds.
Sure.
Okay. Now, on this tray are some Italian wedding cookies.
Mm-hmm.
However, we've improved the version. These are organic and vegan because they're made with our butter-infused olive oil. No dairy. Taste this. Now, there's one thing that Nick is going to bring in that I wanted to surprise you with. You know, you always tell kids, don't play with your foods. We believe in having fun with our foods. And so I've got something in here. And when you see it, you're going to be kind of taken aback at what it looks like. This is a dessert.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we call our version of an Italian salami, but it's a dessert. And a little slice of this with a buchito of café solo.
Café puro. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be absolutely delicious. And this is made with chocolate, and it's got an addition of our raspberry balsamic vinegar. So there's a little undercurrent of that raspberry flavor.
A little tartness coming on the backside.
Right. And
Let
here,
me say real quick that we are a little past the 15-minute
Uh-oh.
mark.
Oh,
So
that's right.
this is how
That's
quick
right.
the show's going already.
oh my.
What have we here? This looks like the salchicha that your dad was just talking
It looks
about.
like a Yule log.
Right, but
Some people
Oh my goodness.
right. Okay.
Can we show this?
Yes,
Wow, look
please
at that.
do.
This
That
is
looks
great.
delicious. It does look like
It could pass for an Italian
Yeah.
salami. So when
Yeah.
you bring it out, that with a little cup of black coffee is very good. And please feel free to taste.
delicious.
Oh my goodness.
Wow, look at
Look at that. Oops. Don't lose it, Maya. Don't lose it.
and there it goes.
He goes, you guys get a little bit of the salchicha right there. That's actually chocolate?
Here, women.
Wait,
Excuse my fingers.
No, no,
But we're
please.
friends.
Here we go,
We're like
we're family.
It's okay.
Are those almonds in there or the
No, pecans.
pecans? Okay.
And those
Thank you.
are Goya Maria cookies in there too to give it a little bit. Would you like a piece? Oh, sure.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that interesting?
You get the raspberry, baby? You get the raspberry
Yes,
on the
right
backside?
away.
And I think when people come in, they are so surprised that you can use our balsamic vinegars as well as our olive oils for things other than salads.
Yeah.
We use our vinegars in our desserts all the time. Isn't that an interesting
This
taste?
is amazing.
Both in appearance, I think, and in taste.
Yeah.
No, the presentation is fabulous.
Yeah.
It almost, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm getting a little bit of a turron-ish.
No, it's chocolate.
No, and it's, you know, turron is usually comes in a
Consistency.
rectangular
Right.
bar.
Right.
But when you slice turron, it kind of looks like this because it's more nougat
Right.
and you have the nuts in it. So this
That's
has
delicious.
that appearance when you slice it. But the taste is
I
completely
can see how that would go
completely
good
different.
with the dark coffee too.
Oh,
It
yeah.
would.
Yeah, it's
It
perfect
goes
fit,
good with
really.
nothing, actually. Right.
And feel free to
It goes
try.
good with my mouth.
Yeah, try one of the cookies, and you're not going to be able to tell that it's not your regular run-of-the-mill. You would
Guys.
never know that it's organic and vegan.
Meanwhile, we
And that's
did get
me.
an email also.
Oh, we did?
Let's
Okay.
read that real quick. This is from Lorraine Guerra. Take one. Lorraine Guerra, and she writes, I lived on Palm Avenue near Taliaferro for the first 5 years of my life before moving to West Tampa, and I remember going to Joe and Son's with my parents and aunts and uncles. Even after we moved to West Tampa, my parents kept going to Joe and Son's with the rest of the family that remained in Ybor City. What wonderful memories. Lorraine Guerra. Lorraine, you
Thank
didn't
you,
send an
Lorraine.
email or a Belita number, so if you still have time, go ahead and send me another email
Thank
with
you,
your
Lorraine, for
lucky
that
Belita
email.
number.
How nice of it.
Yeah, from
You
1
know,
to 75.
And we do get customers, it surprises me, that are third and fourth generation buyers.
Really?
They come in remembering that their great-grandparents came in, their grandparents. Some would come in on a Friday on payday and buy what they needed. And if they couldn't pay for it, It would be put down on the ledger, and the next time somebody drew a paycheck, they would come in and pay the balance off, or it just added up. Interesting thing, I can tell you, I thought my father was a very special man, both as a father and as a businessman. Everything went on the ledger. And he and my grandfather had said early on, as long as the store was open, even though people didn't have money, nobody was going to go hungry. And he stood by that. When he closed the store in 1976, every single penny on that ledger had been repaid, and it was simply on a handshake. There was no way to enforce what people owed and if they were to pay. And he was just a very honorable man. So when you ask, how are we touched by, I always feel that my father would be very proud of the job my daughter is doing with the store. One of the nicest compliments we can continue to get at the store is when somebody comes in, they come in because they like us, they like the products, they like our recipes. The important thing is they say they like us because we do business the old-fashioned way.
Right.
And that's the highest compliment you could pay us.
That's hard to find anymore, too. It really is.
Right.
What a wonderful legacy for you, Andrea.
And I think she's doing a
And
beautiful job with the show.
the responsibility is great, but I think you're up for the task. How does it make you feel when you go in there every day and you see your grandfather and your great-grandfather up there on the wall? I mean, it's got to be a special.
It's very special. Unfortunately, I didn't know my great-grandfather, but I was very close with my Nanu Johnny, and I love to, as I mentioned earlier, the photo that's there. I feel like he would probably be very proud. He's standing there kind of looking over me, making sure things are going well, and they are.
That's great. That's awesome.
Give everybody that address again. Give them the address.
We're at 3401 West Beta Bay Boulevard, in between Himes and McDill.
There you go.
And you can also find us at joeandsonsoliveoils.com.
It's on the north side of the road there, so when you're going towards the water, when you're going east, look to your left. And if you see the Starbucks there, then really start looking left and slow down because it's right there. Got about 5 minutes to go.
Across.
And slow down because it's right there. Is there anything we haven't tasted yet? Can
Oh,
we
you
put
didn't
that in our mouths real quick?
Sure, you could.
Have mercy, because
It'd be a shame
we got about
if
5 minutes to
it
go.
would be a shame if you missed that.
Come on
us,
now.
you
We'd be
come
remiss.
first.
Come on, y'all.
If we missed this.
Stevie, you got a whole bunch on your plate over there, son.
I do.
You better get to eating. I'm going to take this
Just
one.
grab.
Let me tell you something. I wish that our fans out there could
you
use
come
some
every
of
week?
this with us.
I know, really.
I wish that
This
our
is
fans.
amazing.
But listen, the little experience that you saw at the top of the show, that Triple Knot Productions, did it again. Triple Knot Productions put
Right.
together for us, and Brian's yelling at the TV right now. Triple Knot Productions, Brian K. Deary, and that's why I say Triple K, because his middle initial is K.
That's what it
and
is.
it's prevalent, and he uses it in his names, and Jacob Rush put together and edited for us. That little tasting that you taste of Tampa, that's going to be a common occurrence, would you say? Are you going to have that pretty regularly?
We have them regularly.
And can they find out about that on your website?
Yes, they do. And my daughter sends out emails notifying people.
So if they want to be notified and get on
They
that
need
short
to get on
list,
our email list.
Okay.
Yes.
They can do it from the
Because
website,
whenever
right?
we
Yes.
make an announcement, it's generally sold out within hours.
Wow.
Because we
It's so-
limit it to 30
We
people.
understand
Okay.
why.
Yeah.
And it's
how
sold out.
how important
That's
are those
amazing.
events? How cool are those events? How classy are those events? How much are those the type of events that you don't want to miss? They have rearranged the inside of their store so as not to have to rearrange the inside of their store all the time. They've literally moved the furniture to accommodate you folks. And they put out the chairs, and of course you saw the staff is very accommodating. They do the demonstration just like you saw in the front of the store, and just when you think that it can't get any better, here comes the staff to deliver your plates. Modest little fee to cover the expenses. There's usually a wine tasting, and the wine is free of charge. You're welcome to take home a bottle of all the goods there, including the wine. So next time, if they have this event, we will be there again.
Be there.
Because
Alrighty.
we learn so much. And again, that's the kind of stuff that Tampa natives live for. Those recipes from yesteryear that have
That's
been
right.
now lovingly massaged, tweaked, and turned into something
They're part of our history.
special.
And I'll tell you what we've done is we have a lot of families come in just lamenting the fact that it's always fast foods. You've got two parents that are working, kids, different activities after school, and everything is a fast food. We have helped them with easy recipes. If you start off with good ingredients, you can generally put a good meal on the table. A protein,
Within
a
25,
carb, and
30 minutes.
right. And some of them have come back and said, you've given us our evenings together. And those are the most important times those are the most important conversations between parents and kids.
Absolutely.
You don't have to pry. You know, they'll tell you how their day was, and you can sense whether something is going wrong or whether it's going well.
We've got about 2 minutes to go. Darling, how many
do.
numbers do we have? How many numbers do
How
we
many
have?
numbers? 1, 2, 3. 3.
All right, here we go.
Okay. Closest to?
For the
without
Joe and
going over?
Close to without going over, the Joe and Sons olive oil gift certificate, and the winner is 39. 39. Watch it be Anthony Messina.
No, he went over.
Yeah, 39. So
Everybody went over.
Give me 38, 37, 36.
Nope.
No.
It starts
Oh, wow.
with 43.
It starts
again.
at 43?
All right.
All the big numbers. Get in there, Marilyn.
Oh, 49.
That's
50. No, she went over too.
Yeah.
Everybody's going over.
36?
36?
Nope.
Oh my
They're
God.
all
All
high
gift
numbers.
Okay, wait a minute. Oh, a 7.
minute.
A 7. A 7.
They all went over.
Anthony Messina.
No, he doesn't win. He doesn't win. Wait a minute.
We got it.
A 2, a 33. Am I still going?
Baby.
This is a
33?
record. Oh,
Everything.
68.
Okay, now we're talking.
64.
I have a 68.
64.
Betty
64.
Betty Allen.
There it is.
Okay, she got
Betty
it.
Allen.
Congratulations.
We'll get your address and send that certificate
Oh
out to
my
you real
gosh.
quick. Y'all get
Is
your
this
cups
a
up.
record?
That's never
Yes, it
happened.
is a record.
It
It is
is
a
a
record.
Oh my
Absolutely a record.
goodness.
With 30 seconds to go, let me just say, ladies and gentlemen, that if you haven't been to Joe and Sons Olive Oils, you're missing out on a great deal.
True.
This is Andrea Gebbia. This is Marilyn Messina. This is family. We love you guys so much.
Thank you, and we love
On
you
behalf
too.
of everybody that puts this show together, the hardest working
Salute.
in public access television world, I'm Mario Nunez.
Salute.
Here's my crew. We love you, Tampa.
Yes, we do.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Guys, we love you. Thank
Thank
you. Andrea.
Salud.
Salud.
Back when we were younger and everything seemed new, we used to have a lot of fun, yes we did, no matter what we do. Sleepy days, long summer nights, going anywhere we please, with love that I could call my own, love that I've always known, the city that I call my home, a home from which I never roam. This love affair was meant to be. I love her and she loves me. I remember Tampa, oh, she remembers me. She remembers me. I remember, yeah, yes I do. Oh, I remember, yeah, me and you. I'm a Tampa native, Tampa native, can't you see? I will share my story with you to preserve its history. All right now, don't forget, Thursdays, 7 p.m. on TBCN, home of the Tampa Natives Show.